gosh, what to say about Nickelodeon in 2006? This year was a lot more influential than I ever could have imagined. From experimental event marathons like the Spongebob Top 100, they had Nick magazines that promoted like really dark comedy.
Know that your brains are our biggest concern.
There's a whole mess of facts for us to learn.
New video games, with even Drake Bell beating people like Raven Simone for Best Actors at the Kids' Choice Awards. I'm sure you remember some of the best events coming out that year, like the Jimmy Timmy Power Hour 2 and 3, but there's even a few dark moments to 2006. For example, the beginning of SpongeBob finally returning after its movie debut, coming back in season 4, a lot less excited than the end of season 3.
Bond!
I call it the Nasty Patty.
And of course, the technical actual last season of Fairly Odd Parents. With physical media on the brink of destruction, 2006 was really vital when it came to trying to figure out where media would go from then on. And I'm telling you, it was interesting. We went to Nick.com, we went to Nick magazines. There's so many lost media facts I could find throughout these articles that I can't wait to get into with you guys.
We happy? We happy?
Yeah, we happy.
So without further ado, let's get into the most influential year in Nickelodeon history, 2006.
You ready to have your minds blown apart by the most awesomest show in the universe?
What's up, everybody? It's Johnny 2000, focusing on 2000s movies, TV show, and so much more. If we're looking back at 2006, Nickelodeon isn't the only thing that was really thriving at this time. This was a golden era for media in general. This is back when Wii Sports was our cardio. Every house had a Wii, and it was like its first year debuting. Wii Sports was a pretty much staple of our culture. It's also the year that Twitter officially logged on.
Forget blogging and MySpace. If you really want to stay connected, there is a new service, and supposedly it is the next big thing. It's a name you can't forget. It's called Twitter.
MySpace became a little bit less relevant. Facebook was starting to get a lot more traction at the time, allowing kids 13 and up to finally be able to sign up. Oh gosh, it's the beginning of the end. And then also one of the most popular movies at the time was Johnny Depp's Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest.
Pirates.
And if you remember this era, that was like the opening trailer for every movie at this time. But apparently, like, this was one of the highest grossing films and really established what was going on. Disney Channel definitely hit its hot streak around this time with High School Musical's success, Hannah Montana's debut,
Double life!
I'm Hannah Montana.
Cheetah Girls 2. There was just so much going on the competitive networks that it was getting intense. If you followed the current events at the time, this is kind of when Britney Spears was going downhill.
I think 90% of the world would agree that the tabloids have kind of gone a little far with me lately.
And that was a pretty bad time for her. And YouTube was purchased by Google for $1 million. Oh wait, nope, it's $1 billion. Oh my gosh, can you imagine? This also became a rise in popularity of Crocs, which came out 5 years earlier, but yeah, no, this is when people started wearing them all the time. The other networks like Cartoon Network were really thriving, with Ed, Edd n Eddy celebrating its 7th anniversary, season 5 of Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. But if you guys really want to hear more about other networks around 2006, leave me a comment below. I'd love to get into it. The point is, this was a thriving year for media. As a 9-year-old at the time, I was getting out of college, getting my degree, going back to med school, and selling my bones online for the internet. No, I'm just kidding. I was literally 9. I was in 4th grade, and I had just gotten yelled at by my teacher for speaking too loud into the morning announcements. I don't know if you guys remember that, but yeah, I felt really bad that day, and that's the biggest moment for 2006 for me. Yeah. So let's dive into some of the historic moments for TV at this time for Nickelodeon, and then some of the crazy things that had happened to the channel throughout that evolution. With Unfabulous and Naked Brothers Band slowly being pushed out, and Barnyard coming in to take over the CGI Jimmy Neutron era.
Oh no! They're gonna put him in the oven and baste him every 10 minutes until golden brown!
Then a pinch of brown sugar to taste. For crispier skin, try rotating halfway through cooking time. And for
You want to stop that?
And along with that original company failing to stay open because of the Ant Bully movie, it's like there were some big changes, along with a presidential change. Viacom was moving on from CBS to become its own entity, so that means that they had a different president. They had to have a lot of new things happen, probably why we saw such a giant creative shift when it came to the Fairly Odd Parents, Nickelodeon, Danny Phantom. Like, it's insane. So let's sit back on our old 2006 couch, pick out some popcorn from in between the cushions, throw up in the bathroom, have our mom kick us out, and get into what was so awesome about this year. The series premieres in 2006 were actually pretty interesting. There wasn't as many as 2007 or 2004 like I found, but it was a pretty influential year in terms of premieres. Wonder Pets, I'm not sure if you guys remember that show about the hamsters being superheroes.
This is serious.
That was introduced this year, on March 3rd specifically. A show called H2O premiered around this time, actually. It's an Australian television program for kids and teens that was actually filmed in Australia, and I remember seeing this in a bunch of promos, but it was really interesting. The show's premise revolves around 3 teenage girls facing everyday teen problems with an added twist. They're mermaids with powers over water.
Where's the extra water coming from? I don't know.
As you can imagine, this really affects their lives, as it would if I were a mermaid going throughout my daily life.
Great.
I feel like if I were a mermaid, the first thing I would do is find a hot tub. No context, just that's what I would do.
You make a dumb-looking mermaid.
And this show ended up being around 3 seasons, with a lot of the main cast not being people you might be familiar with. It's one of those hyper-realistic shows that you can imagine would be imported into the US, with a lot of quirky humor and fun relationships between all the girls. And unlike the pleasantry of this show, Mr. Meaty was not pleasant.
What's in there? I see something.
And I'm not sure if you guys remember Mr. Meaty. It's about these 2 puppets that work at this fast food joint, and it is the trippiest, most uncomfortable show I've probably ever seen.
Josh, I know we've just met. I feel like I've known you for years.
I have a friend that actually admires this show, and I couldn't be further confused about that.
This is mega lame. Dude, I kind of like it.
I feel like there's not a lot of substance. They had only a few episodes, about 20 spanning over the entire series, which, if you ask me, is way too much. 20 episodes too long. I remember thinking this was a series of shorts, and I was right. In 2002 to 2005, they had like 17 different shorts, as I could find on the wiki, and I can't believe nobody canceled it that early. When it hit 2006, season 1 actually started taking the show a lot more seriously, giving it full 10-minute episodes, with crazy plot lines, such as the pilot being about Parker having really bad body odor, and Josh won't tell him for fear of his reaction. And can we talk about for a second how literally some of the main titles are Drake and Josh related names? Like, Parker is Drake Parker's last name, and then Josh? Like, why? Mr. Meaty has like disgusting products and a lot of really gross out humor that I do not know how to wrap my head around. And I'm scared to say this show was more successful than we gave it credit for, because it looks like they even had a meaty musical episode. I don't know what they were trying to get into.
Josh, you've always had my heart.
I don't usually talk about kid shows. There's a lot of kid shows coming and going from Nickelodeon that I don't really talk about. I mean, preschool shows. Wow Wow Wubsy was one of the ones that premiered this year too.
My name's Wubsy. Happy? Close enough.
And I thought this was a pretty fun show. I just remember watching this early morning before I went to school, way back when, because I think it was like at 8 a.m. And I'm pretty nostalgic for this. This show got really successful, even had a feature film eventually, so how am I not going to talk about it? It's about Wubbzy and his two friends, and I don't even know what to say the plot is. It's not normal, that's for sure. And then, of course, we have series finales, shows that had ran a long time on Nickelodeon that were finally coming to a close. For one, there's Romeo.
Oh no, you did not just go there.
This show that everybody keeps requesting from me. It's about 53 full episodes, and it was filmed in Vancouver. The show revolves around the antics of Romeo Miller, who is a rapper, and comes from this mediocre family, and his record-producing father is part of a hip-hop band. And it follows the adventures of the family, along with Romeo's nanny and stepmother getting involved, which it's really cool to have a show that focuses on different family dynamics. Romeo was one of the first sitcoms I feel like Nickelodeon even had, after Kenan and Kel and all these old classics. That's also when Blue's Clues ended.
Blue? Blue! Did you see Blue?
In August 1st, 2006, Blue's Clues, after 6 seasons, decided to finally call the quits. Why? Because they had a spin-off show. Yeah, Blue's Clues was my childhood favorite. Every clue throughout this show was just so fun to watch. And even the guy playing Steve is just such a cool guy. Even up until this point, we still talk about Blue's Clues in that context. This one really had a mark on my childhood. I remember even having my own handy-dandy notebook.
There's a secret compartment in the notebook.
I remember having that big comfy couch. Like, I was so drawn into Blue's Clues. I remember when I saw the introduction of those new puppets for Blue's Room, which was the spin-off series at the time, I was heartbroken. But at least we got 6 of the original seasons to actually look back on. Blue's Clues is a really fun one, and I feel like some of you guys are probably fans. Do you watch Blue's Clues still? Then we also have the alien horror series Invader Zim, and this one is really funny because it's literally about this alien gaslighting this normal human into believing that he is not an alien.
What's the matter? Scared of beans? Space boy? Nonsense. I love beans.
I love them.
Zim's a member of the Urkin race, and this is a social hierarchy based on height, which is kind of ridiculous. It was created by Jonan Vasquez.
Please join me in welcoming Jonan to the screensavers.
And he brought a lot of cool animation to the project. He'd only done horror or really creepy type of drawings before this, with an expertise in grotesque, really off-putting animation. And this guy is so interesting. He has such a unique voice visually that you can clearly tell when it's him. So it's about Zim and Dib, and basically them going back and forth.
Zim! What? Zim! What?
With Zim trying to take over the world and Dib constantly trying to get help to stop him.
Dad! Ow!
And this kind of makes me feel very existential, because if an alien was actually alive and like going around the world, I would be terrified. And I always have this fear that maybe that is happening right now.
For years, the world has wondered, are there aliens among us?
But I'm not gonna get into that. And yeah, so the final episode was the fry cook, what came from all that space. And it's Zim's former master from Futkortia arriving on Earth, and they take him back to the sentence of his hard labor. And this one I really remember fondly. There's been so many attempts to bring Invader Zim back, with only one successful when they did the movie Enter the Florpus for Netflix. But for the most part, this show is one of the most underappreciated out of all the Nicktoons, especially since even today it's one of the most legacy-driven shows from Nickelodeon. It was so unpopular that they actually canceled it in 2002, and the rest of these episodes actually had to air on the Nicktoons network. So I can't believe they didn't even pick up on this. Then we have another show coming to an end, As Told by Ginger, and this is by Klasky Csapato, and they're the ones who created Rugrats, most notably All Grown Up, and this very specific animation style, just as good as Invader Zim, where you could kind of tell because the mouths are at like the bottom of the face, and I remember always being able to pick apart that from the other commercials when I was watching it, which is so cool because it's like to have such a distinct animation style is always a really cool thing. This show ran for 60 episodes, having started in the 2000s, which is kind of crazy because it's only 3 seasons. They ended up stretching their final season 3 years. Yeah, isn't that insane? Some of the earlier ones were released in 2003, and then up until the very end of the final aired episode, waited 2 years past all the other ones, and it's called Stuff'll Kill Ya. It's when Ginger's busy high school leads her to count on a caffeine drink, the Moco Loco Frothinator.
Moco Loco Frothinator?
Oh, please, indulge in the tall, foamy drink you so richly deserve.
Moco Loco Frothinator!
Which is really funny. It causes her to become extremely hyper and actually causes her to crash out with more burnout, making it a really unhealthy addiction. And I can't believe they waited for so long to put out this episode, but hey, I guess TV networks will just drag on a show until it's fully gone.
Moco Loco Frothinator!
May cause bloating, irritability, and dryness of mouth. Excessive consumption of the Moco Loco Frothinator product could promote nervousness and have a profound laxative effect.
As Told by Ginger had a lot of DVD and VHS releases, which is probably why I'm so familiar with it, but it was more for those teen girls, I feel like, the drama between her and the guy she had a crush on that keeps showing up at her window. That's the part I remember distinctly the most about this. It's a very kind and caring show, and reminds me a lot of The Wild Thornberrys, because I think that was the show that finally ended all of Klasky Csapato's shows. Weirdly enough, 2 shows aired back-to-back, ending the same day. The X's, which was a 1-season TV show about this spy family who have to hide their identity from the outside world, but sometimes have a little trouble. And they have this organization called Snafu, which I'm not sure if you've heard of the Army, but that's their way of like saying that like this is a mistake, like a mistake you would do in the Army. There's a father named Tucker who's the leader, the mother Trudy, and daughter Tuesday, and son Truman. And they all have different aspects to them. Like the mom is a combat specialist, Tuesday's a team investigator, and Truman is a technology expert. And I remember actually really enjoying this. It only lasted 20 episodes with 38 full 10-minute plots, which isn't super bad. I feel like it lasted as long as Invader Zim did. So if you like that show, I feel like this is one of the shows that didn't get a chance either. Although it's not one of the legacy shows or even celebrated till this day, especially considering the show that had a finale that same day was Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius.
Are you alright? I feel horrible, just terrible. How could that happen? What a shame. Too bad. So glad no one got hurt. Accidents will happen. Isn't movie making thrilling?
Yeah, this show was awesome. I remember telling you guys about it for my season retrospectives, as well as my 6-hour retrospective breaking down every episode. And this one only lasted 58 episodes, which was completely insane. Created by John A. Davis and Steve Odenkirk, it had such a successful and long run with some of the best episodes of TV I've ever seen. It's like known for its trippy CGI animation and was one of the first Nickelodeon shows to actually take a risk on that.
He shoots! He scores! Neutron is definitely on!
Before we go into a whole show breakdown, this was when the final episode aired. How to Sync a Sub and Lady Sings the News, which were kind of casual episodes. I feel like it's hard to view this show ending on those notes, especially since Jimmy Timmy Power Hour 2 and 3 counted as specifically Jimmy Neutron episodes. So when you see the episode order, technically the Jimmy Timmy Power Hour 3 is the finale. But yeah, they had a banger final season, with the League of Villains serving as its actual finale by the creators, but not aired as late as 2006. Isn't that crazy? They aired its finale a year before they aired 5 more episodes. Like, I'll never understand how animation is broken up like this. I wish the League of Villains was the one saved.
That feeling is mutual.
After all this time, like, that would have made the show so much more cohesive, but it just feels like it teetered off and died. And given the fan base and how everybody has looked back on this with such fondness. It's literally astonishing that we haven't been able to get more than 58. This also was the premiere of really good seasons of TV shows, like specifically Avatar: The Last Airbender. I'm not sure if you remember Toph, but she was introduced this year. Yeah, so Book 2, Earth, was such a good season of Avatar: The Last Airbender, with Aang actually going throughout Ba Sing Se, which is super awesome, and only the beginning milestone to the final season, which is coming next. They also had Drake and Josh's 4th season, which is downright the best.
Yeah, I'll say.
And I don't know if you know, but the 3rd season kind of dragged out a little bit because they were trying to make up for the fact that Drake Bell couldn't record some episodes. But all around, this was like the best season of Drake and Josh. We have Eric punches Drake.
He just pushed me a little bit too far, and when that happens...
We have Helicopter, the dance contest episode, like everything was right here for that. Unfortunately, I will be mad at Drake and Josh forever for ending on the Helicopter episode as the final aired one, when really Big Shrimp, the finale, should have been earlier. You know what? I digress. Ned's Declassified also began its final season, season 3, and that's when things got really intense with him and Mose, and the love story finally developed, culminating in the big field trip. That 3-part episode, which was insane. The perfect way to end a series.
Best field trip ever.
And Ned's Declassified was just, it was so cool to be at the beginning of that. Of course, Zoe 101 entered its 3rd season, and if you've seen my Zoe 101 retrospectives, you'll know the first 2 really weren't great. And so this was the peak season, with Zoe's ribs and having guest stars like Miranda Cosgrove. Zoe 101 season 3 had so much special about it. Oh, it's even when The Curse of PCA premiered. So that was a really good year. Danny Phantom's 3rd season was also premiering here, and even though it didn't necessarily end in 2006, it was the beginning of the end, and that's the saddest part. With this whole political season between Danny and Vlad going back and forth, fighting throughout the entire town in a way that breaks the structure that Danny Phantom had in its first 2 seasons.
Yes, no need to thank me.
I break down more on this in the Danny Phantom 3rd season retrospective, but just know it was really epic. Speaking of specials, Drake and Josh Go Hollywood was released in January of this year, and I just did a video on this also. Seeing these guys without a laugh track for the first time in a full-length movie was something so iconic that I love to this day. Fairy Idol, the really awesome American Idol parody special that was hosted, featuring the best song ever, Give Me the Wand by Norm, was a huge deal. Like, this is where I consider Fairly OddParents should have ended. But I mean, I guess we got some really good episodes in season 6 and 7 and 8, but for the most part, this is when the original energy kind of faded out. Speaking of which, this year was super prominent because they finished both the 2nd Jimmy Timmy Power Hour and the 3rd Jimmy Timmy Power Hour all within this year. The most iconic crossover, one that doesn't disappoint, just like the Disney Channel specials did. It feels like Jimmy and Timmy had this huge climactic end in 2006 that just started the era of all new content. Same thing with SpongeBob SquarePants. They had the special Lost in Time that came out in February, and this was a big milestone because after season 3, one of the most infamous seasons for being the last best SpongeBob season, had come to a close. They did the whole movie, and now they're coming back with a 4th season. This was like kind of a big deal because we were all wondering if SpongeBob would still have kept its energy.
But sir, there's gotta be something I need to improve on. Anything!
And while it was a little bit off, I could still argue that the 4th through 6th season of SpongeBob weren't that bad. I feel like they still had some really good plots in them. It's hard not to forget the end of that era, though. Like, that is going to truly be missed. Now, after the SpongeBob movie, Nickelodeon really did try to dabble into its theatrical releases, with some of the most iconic coming out this year as well. Let me start from boring to most interesting. We got Charlotte's Web coming out December 15th at the end of the year.
Oh, Spider, get away!
Based on the book, the cartoon. It was such a wholesome family film that like really represented what Nickelodeon was trying to do at the time. Their kids and adults initiative, trying to get a lot of co-viewing experiences out there. That's also when they went with Nacho Libre, the Jack Black-led movie.
Yes, he's through.
I am Nacho.
Where he plays a Mexican man that is also a pastor.
I'm a little concerned right now about your salvation and stuff. How come you have not been baptized?
Because I never got around to it, okay?
And it's this really weird back and forth between religion and wrestling, with this guy being one of the most funniest people. And Rico from Hannah Montana's in it, something I was not expecting at all. I saw it for the first time this year, and honestly, it's a pretty genuine movie with a lot of heartfelt moments and a really sweet love story that really defined the early 2000s, but nothing impacted Nickelodeon more than August 4th's Barnyard. So Barnyard is the movie about Otis and his barnyard friends for the first time appearing on the channel. Of course, it started off in the movie theaters, and we would know that this would eventually lead to the Barnyard TV series. Of course, this was like the perfect pilot. The same way the Jimmy Neutron movie led to the series, that's what happened here with Barnyard. One last really intense story about Otis losing his father and him trying to get over the grief, along with being like this party animal barnyard. It's crazy. And while I had a lot of fun with the Barnyard TV series, it's no doubt iconic because of its movie and that origin. Which leads us to some of my more interesting topics, video games from the year. Yeah, Barnyard actually had a video game come out a couple days before the actual movie. Something that was really fun in the 2000s, the video game to movie tie-in. I don't know why they just saw video games as like kids' toys, where they needed to have them every time a new movie was coming out. And sure, it sounds a little crazy in retrospect, given the fact that video games take so long to make, but at the time, I feel like the industry just kind of manipulated the video game industry to just do whatever, and they were just trying to make their deadlines work. But hey, it ended up in a really cool cultural movement with all these interactive games. Barnyard being one of the interesting ones. Then they also had their first Avatar: The Last Airbender video game coming out this year, which I gotta be honest, I played recently, and yeah, it doesn't hold up, okay? There's a lot of potential for the Avatar: The Last Airbender series to have a really good video game. It just seems like nobody is willing to put in the time to create it. You'd think it would be so simple because the premise of the show is so rich in video game-like elements. Like, you could be Aang, you could learn all the elements, but it seems like they tried to base it off of the first season with 2 video games following it. None of which I feel like are great games in general, but still, like, it's nice that they even tried. Spongebob is the best video game series out of all of these combined, and it had a really bad game come out this year, though. It was called Creature from the Krusty Krab, and it was the most genre-jarring video game you could ever imagine. Like, the animation between different worlds, like, it feels like 8 different video games clunked together. I watched a lot of retrospectives on kind of how this one came together, and it's surprising. I don't think it's one of the memorable ones, not especially since Battle for Bikini Bottom and the movie game were so good. Truth or Square came in a close second, but when they got to Creature of the Krusty Krab here, yeah, I'm not really a fan of this. Speaking of media, we're gonna have to talk about the home video releases. I mean, this is one of the few rare moments in history where VHS and DVD were being released at the same time.
On DVD.
Back at this time, they had Drake and Josh Go Hollywood release on both VHS and DVD, and it looks like Avatar: The Last Airbender started releasing its first season alongside its second season premiere with its first DVD release, Book 1 Water, Volume 1. They would split it up later into 4 different volumes, with also releasing a complete first season set, which is really cool, because later they also did like some kind of anniversary edition, which was gorgeous. This was a fun time for DVDs. They even had Nick Picks Volume 3, with the first 2 volumes having a perfect balance between, you know, the best Nicktoons episodes you'd find on the channel. This one just took it a step further, and unfortunately, it's one of the last Nick Picks specials, but you have to like it for that. And same thing with SpongeBob SquarePants, like, they had the most VHSs.
I love this show!
And this was one of the times where they had Lost in Time, that new special we were talking about earlier, on both VHS and DVD. It's very few episodes of SpongeBob that surpassed the 3rd season that even got VHS releases, so it is cool to look back on. Of course, the Jimmy Timmy Power Hour found its home on VHS and DVD, which is so cool because I'm just happy I could still get these till this day. Teen Nick's Picks Volume 1 DVD also came out, which, oh, I wish they continued this tradition. Teen Nick's Picks, it sounds like such a good idea. I mean, hey, I'm a nostalgia YouTube channel, so how am I not going to be biased? But that would have been incredible to get more in that series. Fairly Odd Parents got Fairly Idle on VHS and DVD. Zoe 101 Spring Breakup happened just the year before, so they had a VHS and DVD release. That's probably a lot harder to find nowadays. Oh, and Nick Picks had its 4th volume released this year as well. Okay, I wasn't expecting that. Yeah, so this was the final installment of that series, containing episodes from even the X's, Mr. Meaty. Like, they tried to give us as much Nicktoons as possible. SpongeBob also got to put its new special Karate Island on DVD, and I had a really good experience with this because when I was little, I remember renting this one specifically from Blockbuster and seeing all these season 4 episodes of SpongeBob, and I was like, why is this show so different now? But yeah, looking back, it's pretty obvious. I think the Rugrats Tales from the Crib DVD was also released. It was called Three Jacks and the Beanstalk, and it's interesting because Rugrats was slowly being phased out at this point, so to have this like new special, all original, was kind of cool because it just showed that Nickelodeon was still devoted to Klusky Kapato. SpongeBob finally started releasing into different volumes instead of complete sets, which is crazy. I don't know if there was like a huge change in Nickelodeon government, but they used to have first season, second season, third season, and then suddenly by the 4th season, they just broke everything into half. Season 5, Volume 1, Season 6, Volume 1, and then they kind of went back to normal at Season 7, but the quality and DVD atmosphere was just kind of fading out at that point anyway, so we couldn't really do anything a lot about it. Invader Zim finally came to DVD, the complete Invasion DVD box set, actually combining all the releases they had before, as well as the final episodes, and it just reminds you how short-lived that show was. It's almost not fair. But hey, the DVD set is really cool. They also have a version that's like shaped in the form of Zim's house, which is interesting. All around great year for physical media. This year was the year they did the infamous 24-hour SpongeBob marathon, calling it the best day ever. And it's cool because they had like the top 100 countdown with all the episodes they claimed were the best.
For the next 24 hours, we're gonna be counting down the 100 greatest episodes of SpongeBob that you voted for.
But of course, this experience was pretty controversial because it seems like the network decided to air the episodes they thought were the best.
This was supposed to be my perfect day.
Which is, I'm not surprised, I'm not confused. I definitely would expect that from a network. It's just really funny 20 years later because literally in the top 10, when they were counting down the last episodes, they had like 8 of them being from season 4. That means like so many iconic episodes that we know and love to this day didn't even make the top 100. Like at number 1 was Karate Island. Like no way in the world that even to this day Karate Island is the number 1 SpongeBob episode. And then it has Wishing You Well, which by the way I like, so I'm gonna defend that one. But Dunces and Dragons, Krusty Towers, which is also a good one.
Wow! An indoor pool? Oh, this place is fancy!
But like, you're telling me Ripped Pants, Plankton, Boating School, Jellyfish Jam, none of these even made it to the top 100, which is, that's gotta be a crime. Even the Christmas episode, Christmas Who? Like, that is such a good episode. I mean, it's clear that they were just making this whole gimmick to count down to the new episode of SpongeBob, Best Day Ever episode, which kind of anticlimactic. It was just like a 10-minute episode. Can you imagine waiting 24 hours to see 10 minutes of new footage? And it's funny because all I could find online is the fact that Patchy the Pirate in between episodes would have like a lot of talking heads. He'd be like with kids and announce the next episode that was coming, and his hook would be on a different hand at a bunch of different points. Like, what in the world is that about?
It'll be off the hook.
I mean, aside from this huge publicity stunt, the marathon was such a fun idea, and they would later do a lot better marathons, but for the most part, this is embarrassing. It's embarrassing to look back on and be like, knowing all we know about SpongeBob to this day, that they thought this was the top 10 episodes, or even top 100 for that matter. It's almost embarrassing. So yeah, but 2006, they did have some good marathons. Some of the actually interesting marathons would be the one leading up to the Jimmy Timmy Power Hour 2. It's called the Magic of Science Marathon, and it was a 4-hour marathon with Jimmy Neutron and Fairly Odd Parents back to back, leading up to the new special When Nerds Collide. In January, they also had 5 new Jimmy Neutron episodes back to back, which was kind of fun. New Avatar all through February. They had like an every day in 1 week with a new episode leading up to one 2-part episode, which was really cool. They even had this new thing called Nick Friday Nights, and it was like a Friday night block featuring Nicktoons, pretty much. Avatar The Last Airbender, Danny Phantom, Spongebob, and even Cat Scratch, which was new at the time. One of the cool ones was the Danny Phantom Schools Out, Ghouls Out marathon, which was so random. That's when they played the special reality trip for the first time, the second season finale. So I guess it was kind of like a big deal to have that. They did also a really weird marathon called Jamie Lynn Takes Over Nick. They had Jamie Lynn Spears hosting all of Nickelodeon, which was so random. I don't even know if that needed to happen. Then they did Emma Takes Over Nick, which was Emma Roberts doing the same thing with a bunch of episodes picked by her.
This is going to be good.
They had Drake take over Nickelodeon, which was also funny. It was interesting that they were trying to do all these, like, this person takes over Nickelodeon. I don't know. This is, like, kind of what I find iconic about Nickelodeon. It's just their attempts to kind of make everything an event and special, even though it's just, like, a normal episode of TV. It's such a good way of getting kids to, like, sit down and watch TV, which I guess in retrospect doesn't sound like a healthy thing, but it was still pretty cool. I also learned a lot about what was important to Nickelodeon and to the fans based on Nickelodeon magazines. And there was a lot of Nick magazines.
Now, from the only network for kids,
they're noticed for having, like, these monthly articles all celebrating what is to come, like the Jimmy Timmy Power Hour, a new video game. This was a time where print media really caught our attention. If we were at school or going around, like, it was our way of staying tuned into television without necessarily having to be in front of the television.
They know Nick Magazine is good for a healthy brain.
It's interesting because it wasn't solely devoted to Nickelodeon, you know, like there would be like Disney ads, there'd be a lot of video games based on things that aren't even associated with Nickelodeon. They just really were devoted to the promotion of everything. And I feel like we could learn a lot about pop culture by diving into some of these. So I want to show you some of the interesting stuff I found in some of these magazines. Like, for example, one of the first ones of 2006 was in January, and it sports the Chronicles of Narnia on its front page. They have like a Cat Scratch comic on the side, voting for new video games at the Video Games Awards. It's all trying to go over new media in general. Since YouTube wasn't as proven as it is today, like that everybody's on it, this is where they used to introduce new actors, like things to look forward to about the movies, along with really awkward ads like the Firefly, meet the mobile phone for mobile kids. Oh my gosh. They also had like fun filling out stuff, like Mad Libs type experiences, so that way kids could have fun with these. And you could tell that like some of the jokes in this are almost trying to be edgy just to show the kids of Nickelodeon that, hey, we're not just a baby Nickelodeon magazine. The Nicktoons Unite article came out too, which was supposed to hype up for the DS version. And I swear, like, this was so exciting at the time, especially since video games was like a new foray for Nickelodeon. It seems like they were going all in, especially since we had Attack in the Power of Juju challenge on the next page. They also made a reference to all the other video games that had come out and just stuff to get excited about, like a really good SpongeBob game, Lights, Camera, Pants. That was really fun. They also had a lot of creative stuff that like gave you ideas on what to do at home. They had sections where they're talking about famous people and like what they're doing now, like people from the OC or actors, tennis players. Like it felt like a yearbook for the entire era. Cartoon Network has an ad for Puffy Amiyumi in this, which I've talked about on the Cartoon Network side of the time capsules, which is such a fun throwback. They had the whole promo art for the X's on an entire page of this one, saying that the family will self-destruct on November 25th. They even had this thing called like a home prank kit, which feels like a joke article, but they straightforward give you all this stuff you can do to prank people in your home.
And pull out pranks just to fool your phone.
It's cool though, because it's definitely the perfect opportunity to connect with kids just in the form of like a newspaper, something to get excited about, like different comic books, seeing the new Harry Potter video game, or even the upcoming DVD releases. Oh, I was so excited when I saw the SpongeBob 3rd season DVD on this promo page. Like I was just excited. A lot of insight into the new Narnia movies, which is kind of trippy to think about. Like they had different pages for different characters, like a lot of publicity for this. I wonder how much it cost them. Oh my gosh, and they even have a whole page on Inside Nick saying like which voice actors did more than one character, like Tara Strong being Dill Pickles and Timmy Turner.
Wish Cosmo and Wanda were here. I was Baby Dill.
David Kaufman being the voice of Danny Phantom.
Finally! I've been looking forward to this summer vacation forever.
Carolyn Lawrence as both Cindy Vortex and Sandy Cheeks.
Bob, I was so worried. I thought something terrible had happened.
And then Rob Paulson as Jack Fenton and Carl Weezer.
I did a show called Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius, in which I was Carl. And
oh my gosh, I didn't realize how much of this behind the scenes info they made publicly available, maybe because I wasn't paying attention at that age, but like it's so cool to see it all in retrospect. Oh, The Incredibles had a video game come out this year. All these games you could order. It kind of reminds me of those magazines we used to get in school where you got to check off what you wanted to buy, like a school's buyer list. Tony Hawk Pro Skate Jam was at the time. Oh my gosh, there was just so much to think about. In 2006, the Kids' Choice Awards is hard not to talk about too. They even had famous stars from adult shows announcing awards. It was crazy to think that they were this devoted this early to a Kids' Choice Award ceremony. Some of the cool winners was like favorite movie had Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire beating Charlie and the Chocolate Factory or Herbie Fully Loaded. And then Lindsay Lohan won an award for that movie, which was cool. She was against like Dakota Fanning, Drew Barrymore, and Madagascar won favorite animated movie.
I like to move it.
Against Chicken Little, Robots, Wallace and Gromit. And if you remember, Madagascar is that movie about all the zoo animals escaping. It was so funny. Chris Rock even won a favorite voice award for Marty as the character. Drake and Josh won favorite TV show.
I'm going home and playing with this in my bathtub.
Literally against American Idol, Fear Factor, and That's So Raven. Can you imagine? Favorite TV actor is even crazier because it's Drake Bell winning against Ashton Kutcher from That 70s Show, Bernie Mac from The Bernie Mac Show, and Romeo from Romeo.
Yeah, well, you can't have it. You know why? Why? 'Cause I'm #1.
Like, I can't believe how many Teen Nick wins there were. Favorite TV actress, of course, Jamie Lynn Spears wins against my own opinions, because obviously Zoe Brooks is the worst acted person ever, and I don't know how she lost to Raven Simone from That's So Raven. Like, that's ridiculous. I guess Nickelodeon was just more popular at that time, as Disney was still trying to, like, find its way in the teen sitcom world. Spongebob, of course, won favorite cartoon against Simpsons, Jimmy Neutron, and Fairly Odd Parents. Crazy. Jesse McCartney, favorite male singer. Like, there was just so much 2006 going on, I'm almost going to throw up. This year was hosted by Jack Black, which is so funny because even in 2026, is Jack Black not the most prominent kids actor, like, known to man?
Jack, he's a bringing down the fun.
2006 was also the most influential year when it came to merchandise. Yeah, before we had iPads and iPhones, we had these wax-figured replicas of our favorite TV shows. Some say action figures, some say dolls. I choose the more positive outlook. Marketing scams. Well, that's a little bit dramatic, but basically, this is when the networks decided that money can come from so many more sources than just the TV. They were experimenting with some of the more successful shows like The Backyardigans, Go Diego Go, Avatar The Last Airbender, The Wonder Pets, and of course SpongeBob. With Charlotte's Web and Barnyard even coming out that year, they had like a whole press release talking about how they were going to add more merchandise and actually get into McDonald's, kids' meals. Like, they wanted to put Nickelodeon everywhere at this time. Because that year, it was the #1 entertainment brand for kids, which really crazy to think about in retrospect. I don't know if that's still true. And the TV network was seen in more than 89 million households, the #1 rated basic cable network for 10 consecutive years. So they were really looking to double down on all this stuff. It was Avatar The Last Airbender's debut of really cool merchandise, like action figures were being introduced for the first time of Aang, Zuko, and I can't find the best quality pictures, but I mean, they look cool. Of course, we can't forget the fact that Avatar also had some brand awareness in Burger King, which was actually really cool. I can't believe that this show was really going all out back in this day. I found found this really cool video with a toy archivist, and he is showing us the products of all of what Burger King had in 2006 with SpongeBob Friend or Foe, the special from the time. And this is actually really cool because even today, Search for SquarePants had a presence in Burger King. So 20 years later, they're still fostering their relationship. That's crazy to me. But these toys look really cool. I don't know why, like, they were just so useless yet so fun to collect. Like, I wish I still had them till this day. There was this toy company called Palisades that were responsible for making the Fairly Odd Parents toys in 2005, and I know that seems like kind of irrelevant, but this is interesting because they actually went bankrupt in 2006. And these are some really classic toys. I'm not sure if you remember, they have Vicky, Timmy Turner. This is like the original Fairly Odd Parents style, very classic, very vintage, and it's just so sad that this is the end of officially when this toy line came out. I just had to kind of put them in memoriam section for this. This is a really sad time for me. But yeah, these toys, I wish I collected them before they got rare. I feel like you can only find them throughout YouTube videos of other people reviewing them. What can you do? And we just can't forget at this time how influential these IP-driven consumer products were. Like, they were on shampoo bottles, they were on kitchen utensils in people's homes. Like, this became a natural part of our lives. That's probably why today in 2026, we still are nostalgic for these things, because they weren't only on our television, they were in our bathrooms, in our bedrooms. Like, SpongeBob, Timmy Turner, all these legacy networks products were just everywhere in our lives. Oh, and one of my favorites was this specific toy line called Zlingers, and I don't know what kind of company this was, but basically they would have all these known cartoon characters, and you're supposed to put them in water, perfect for like the theme of SpongeBob. Whatever Nickelodeon was trying to do, they were trying to get like experimental in this era, which I kind of miss. I miss the experimental age of Nick. So I think a good example that actually stood the test of times is Legos. Like, Legos had a lot of SpongeBob releases in 2006, and even till this day, Legos are still like a prominent merchandise related toy. But overall, it's not really how it used to be in 2006. It feels a lot more corporate, a lot more like whoever can afford this stuff, and everything is overpriced. Like, back at this time, it was like $5, $6. Now it's like you can't get anything for like under 30 or 40. So I really love reminiscing about this era. Nick.com was also thriving. It wasn't exactly what it was in 2007 to 2009, but it definitely was exactly as we remember our favorite Nickelodeon to be. They had the Nick Arcade, where you could actually play all these online flash games based on shows like SpongeBob Wild Thornberrys, X's, Rocket Power. They even went back so far as to have Rugrats, Rocko's Modern Life, Vader Zim. Like, they tried to have video games for literally every property. Even 16, the Canadian show that aired on Cartoon Network, was on here. The Amanda Show. All that, even the live action stuff. Like, it's crazy to think that they needed to have all these games ready. Friday Night Slime Time even had a section on the Nickelodeon website. They also introduced Turbo Nick, where you could actually watch some of the Nickelodeon shows on this website, which I can't imagine how that looks to this day. I'm using the Wayback Machine to attempt to find all of this lost stuff from that year, but all I could really find is like this browser bar to see that they had like a spot for a shop, a spot for My World, a spot for Lab, whichever that is, a spot for Buzz, a spot for My Nick, whichever that means, All Nick, and Games. So I guess they were really trying to be the all-out hub for everything. Of course, advertising the newest movies of the year like Nacho Libre, Charlotte's Web, everything that Nickelodeon needed in their own best interest. Yay! Since the media was in such a weird transition period where people weren't sure if we were reading magazines or going online more, like, they had to find a way to put both of them on. Like, the Nickelodeon magazine even had its own issues online. Inside Nick series from the comic books being put on the website with a cover story. Like, you got so much stuff going on here, and they were so good at like finding ways to keep this site active for kids my age, and it's probably why we're addicted to all this media now. Wow. So yeah, 2006, a phenomenal year for Nickelodeon, and looking back 20 years later, I just wish those days were still ahead of us. But obviously you never really appreciate something in the moment. You're just like caught up in other things going on. I wish I really like looked around me and appreciated all that. Like the Jimmy Timmy Power Hour 2, like that was some of my favorite content that came out that year. With the video games making a huge debut with a Nintendo DS, the Wii, I feel like I was just so nostalgic for that time, it's hard to argue. With toys being some of my favorite stuff, I wasn't able to collect them. I was more of a DVD person, but I still remember all of these like it was yesterday. Now, as I close my eyes and reminisce about 2006 by listening to my old Hannah Montana CDs, I guess I'm curious what you guys loved the most about 2006. Was it any of the merchandise? Was it even any of the magazines we got to get into? Marathons, that was a really cool look back for me because I loved the way they ordered episodes and how they released them online. And yeah, what a transitional year. So yeah, comment below anything you want to see in the future, anything you liked about 2006. And until then, I've got a awesome year planned for all of us, and I can't wait to celebrate the nostalgia of the 2000s with you guys in yet another year, super far off from 2000. Like, I have so much fun with this channel, and I really appreciate you guys sticking by me, and appreciate all your guys' support. So until next time, everybody, for more 2000s movies, media, TV, and so much more, take a look at Johnny 2000. Like, share, and thank you guys so much. Have a great day.
That's awesome. Yeah.